maintenance, annual maintenance, which had been delayed, normally takes place earlier in the spring, but because we had the flooding conditions in March and April, that had been pushed back. So those items taken together resulted in us having a water emergency. The next item is the actions that were completed on Thursday and Friday, which involved the public notification process. You'll notice in town there are a total of 7 lighted message boards. They all have the same message. Also on Friday, water emergency flyers were hand-delivered to a number of the businesses in the community where residents frequent. Those are flyers that are posted in prominent places. Hopefully people take notice of those. The town's website was reflected to update the emergency, and detailed information was posted. Additionally, we began the process of hand-delivering flyers to historically high residential water users. So we identify 500 residential properties in town that have historically high water usage, and we took the time to hand deliver notices beginning on Friday and into Saturday to those individuals. And of course, we continued the monitoring of tank levels beginning again on Thursday and Friday. On Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the water department did begin the process of double checking for leaks in water mains, specifically looking for any leaks that may be occurring in stream crossings. You'll recall a few years ago we had a rupture in the Andover intermunicipal connection, which was under the river. We're pleased to report that there were no leaks that were found. We also continued and completed the residential flyer distribution. The lighted signboards had to be repositioned to maximize visibility in major entry points to the town, and particularly located in areas that we felt were fairly high in usage. Not every area could be covered, but we felt as though having them in the main entry points to town was accomplished. And again, continuation of the monitoring of the tanks. There's some additional actions that had been thought about but were not implemented that proved to be unnecessary. One of those was the door-to-door notifications through the police and fire departments. This was an effort that the MWRA had when they had that major water line rupture back in May. We did not find it necessary to do so. We were prepared to bring in a consultant to, again, check for water leaks within the system. Based upon the findings that had been found over the weekend, that was not done because we did not find any leaks that needed to be addressed. One of the items that was discovered is a water tank level indicator that is maintained in the fire department. It was proven that that tank indicator was defective. It never showed a drop in the water tank levels. And certainly from a fire protection standpoint, it's critical that we address and repair that item. So that's on our list of things to do. We also have to notify the DEP within 2 weeks of the emergency declaration. That's also an item that needs to be done. And then we also have the issue of enforcement, which is ongoing, to make sure that we have compliance. And I'm pleased to report that there is tremendous cooperation throughout the community where neighborhoods and individuals are informing the town of any violations that may be taking place. And those violations occur for a number of reasons. It could be, however, that someone does have a private well. We're always conscious of the fact that we want to check that out. So at this point, the recommendation is to continue the water emergency on a week-to-week basis until tank levels stabilize. I'm very pleased to report that we believe that the tanks will completely fill to capacity overnight this evening. You'll see, based upon the benchmark of progress, that we had used the Tower Hill water tank as our benchmark. It's kind of centrally located. It's located in the middle of the community. And at the worst, that tank during the original problem back last Tuesday was 49% empty. And that compares to, during the summer months, that tank being about 25% empty. So there was a significant concern that we did have. There have been gains, and those gains are documented on the page 2 that you see from the water department, where the total system, not just looking at the Tower Hill tank, but the total system is at 95.9%. We did see a little drop with the very hot weather. And we also went ahead and looked and saw what other towns have done, given you a listing of restrictions that exist throughout the Commonwealth right now. There are a number of communities that have water emergencies. Some of them are posting information on the website as we speak. But to give you an idea that there are a number of communities, particularly in the Ipswich River Basin, that are impacted by water emergencies as we stand here today. The only piece that I did not talk about is the page that looks something like this. And this is the bar chart is at the top is an attempt to show you graphically what the tanks look like and what their top elevations would be. You'll see that the top elevations in all of our storage tanks is about 300 feet. So that's the top elevation. And you'll see the capacity of each of the tanks, which range between 500,000 gallons up to 1.5 million gallons. The total capacity, storage tank capacity in the system is 3.2 million gallons. We're at 3.07 million gallons as of this morning. And you'll see that as the level of those tanks varies, you'll see that there's an effect on the pressure in the system. And one of the major complaints that residents had was a drop in water pressure. And for example, if you look at the Tower Hill tank, you'll note that when that tank was down at its lowest point, which was 56 feet, the pressure was down about half. And that obviously impacts anyone who lives in the community, but particularly hits those residences that are in the higher areas of town. So that's really what the impact is. So I'm hopeful that we have some good news in the morning. I think getting through today was critical, dealing with the heat. And I think the board made the right decision in acting the decision that it did. You'll see that as a result of establishing the order and getting the word out, we're able to not only stop the depletion of the water tanks, but we're also able to restore some of the gains that have been lost over the last week. And I think that's pretty significant. If there was any doubt in your mind as to whether the right decision was made, I can assure you that the water department and I feel that absolutely the correct decision was made. Questions?
The normal policy, which obviously the past few years hasn't been an issue, is for alternating days.
Yes, odd even.
So as we get through this crisis and I assume we're gonna consider switching to alternate days at some point. Weather dependent, obviously.
No, that is the policy.
That's the policy. That's the
Year round.
policy.
Yeah, right, but I mean, right now, we've asked people not to water at all.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, so at some
So you're saying
point,
go back
there's
to the
gotta
policy.
be
Right.
some new announcement.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
It's true.
assuming that we get into a better position.
I just think, the administration was very wise to call us together last week, particularly in light of the forecast. As it panned out, the weathermen were actually right. There hasn't been any rain for about a week, and that doesn't happen very often. But I think that proactive position that was taken by the board, but through the administration's recommendations, has really panned out, because obviously we would have had a crisis on our hands in relation to pressure from a public safety standpoint from fire protection. So I think they're to be commended for taking a proactive stand, bringing it to our attention as early as they did. And once again, I'd like to thank the members of the public for being so cooperative. I mean, those signs around town, I've had more comments on those big boards around town in the last 4 or 5 days. They've certainly done the job of getting the word out. The biggest question that I've had from people is, can I water my plants? And the answer is yes. They can use the hose and water their plants and things like that. They just, mostly it's the irrigation and sprinklers and watering your lawn. But people can water their plants with the hose to keep them from dying. But again, the community's really rallied, and the numbers are evident. And I think it wasn't premature. I think it was a proactive stand in light of the timing of it, the long weekend. the usage,
The weather.
yeah, the weather and everything else, so, you're to be congratulated, and Water Department, and Dick, and everybody else, and Mark, for bringing it to our attention when you did.
And also making those repairs that they got on top of pretty quick.
Making the repairs, and again, and then getting the word out. I mean, with the police department, and anybody else who participated in getting the word out through the flyers and other additional knocking on doors and notifying those big users of the situation over a holiday weekend. Did a terrific job.
Right, I think the right course of action was taken, I agree. Just in hindsight, just a couple of things, if hopefully we're not faced with this again, but there was some comments I received about, how did you go from having a voluntary water restriction to a mandatory water restriction in less than 24 hours? What had changed, so. And also, I believe.
Vote of the board.
No, I know, but there was, when
Yeah,
the
right.
signs first went up on the Wednesday, it was a voluntary, then it went to a mandatory, there's
I
some
know.
confusion there. I don't think there was anything we could control, but I think maybe going forward, if we're faced with it again, we just implement the mandatory ban right away.
No, but that couldn't be done without a vote of the board, and therefore they had put those signs up earlier, I thought.
Yeah, I know, but, I think we could have called the meeting a day earlier, that's all.
Yeah, that was
That was it.
exactly the
Yeah.
reason. We put the sign, once
Right.
we got the signs, we decided rather than having them sit, we may as well just ask people
Yeah,
for
no, it was-
voluntary conservation.
And I've explained that to people, but I think going forward, call the meeting sooner rather than later.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
we get the problem corrected sooner. The other thing, I believe, I haven't seen it, but I also heard that the residential notices that went to the high water users had a date on it through July 6th as the date by which they're not supposed to water. I haven't seen it, I've just been told
I'm
this.
assuming this is one of
Say-
them, right?
I just,
Did you get one?
I got this in my mailbox, so I'm assuming,
If you did, yeah, then you would be.
which I
you know,
find
well,
absolutely amazing, because I barely use, I have a well, so I don't use town water too much. so.
just a thought
That's
process
the
going.
shower.
But there's no date on it.
There's no date on yours?
It
Okay.
says effective immediately, July 1st.
1 July, yeah,
All right.
effective, that's,
I was-
there's
I
no
was
end
told by
date.
a resident that said that through July 6th, so if it doesn't, then they were inaccurate, but if that was the case, my thought was just to not have an end date on it, that's all. But I think, I applaud the administration, the DPW, the Water Department, in getting on this and correcting it, calling us into action.
Mr. Chair, I believe that we have to have a meeting as well to stop the restriction as we have
No,
it
I
set.
don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I thought I read in the bylaw.
No, we gave,
I
I
gave
thought
the
we gave the
administration
authority, the
the authority
administration
to-
by that vote.
That's the way we did the motion.
Yeah.
For them to just make their own decision, okay.
Yeah, I think we have a
If
water
it wasn't
department.
worded that way, I think you'd be correct, but
Okay.
we worded the motion a
was.
certain way, it gave them that
Right.
latitude.
Okay.
We certainly will give you a heads up. We're in no position to do anything right now.
No, I would think so.
Today's a pretty significant day, and tomorrow morning's water readings will tell a lot.
Absolutely, yeah, hand it around.
I'm a low-end user, I don't get one of these.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
that's the
wa- I
only
don't
other
water my
question,
lawn.
do you know what was the benchmark in terms of high water, residential water use? That was the only other question. One resident was surprised that they had received a notice.
I
being
don't,
a high-
you mean in terms of being the 500?
Right.
I know that they went after they sent the notice to the highest water users, but I believe also there was an effort to target certain neighborhoods that on average have
Simultaneously.
higher than average water usage. It could be that there's a family or an individual that doesn't
Mhm.
fall within that category, but since they're in that neighborhood, they took the opportunity to notify everyone.
Or you have a very green lawn, and they probably put one in your mailbox, which is why I got one.
There's a lot of brown lawns around.
I have a very green lawn, everyone else is brown.
Cut it high.
I don't cut it.
Job well done by
Yeah,
everyone.
excellent job.
Really good, really good.
Dick and Mark have been working hard.
I also, just before we get on, I just wish to thank Enru. Enru was
Yes.
supportive in this effort, and they sent out an email to their listserv, and it got out to 300 people?
No, I thought it was more than that.
Eight-
It was
1800.
1,800? I'm
eight-
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, it was, I applaud
Yeah.
them, they took the effort.
went out.
Usually they don't do that, but they recognized the issue and thought it was an urgent nature and an emergency, so
Right.
they
I
did.
just, I had brought this up earlier, I think, to you, was reverse 911.
Yes.
And not that, I know that we don't have it, but, it's something we
didn't- we
probably
didn't do it,
should
yeah.
have.
We-
The
I thought we-
school is,
I thought we do have it, we just didn't choose to use it. No.
no, I heard that there was some issues.
There
We
is a
said,
service that we used to have,
Under a grant, though,
under a grant program,
right? And that
through the
grant
police
ran out.
department that allowed us to.
We didn't have the
do that
money.
service. we did not pay